So hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar, Finding a Balance, Is It Possible? Caring for Others While Caring for Yourself, presented by Maureen Daniels. My name is Tanya Jonalia, and I'm the Research and Education Specialist with Brain Tumour Foundation of Canada. We're very excited to offer a second webinar in the 2013 Winter Webinar Series. So just a few logistics before we get started. Everyone has been muted so we don't have any background noise during the webinar, and if you're having any difficulties hearing us, just make sure that your volume is up on your computer. We are recording this webinar presentation, which means it will be available on our website to view again. So if you know anyone who was unable to attend today, they can view it at a later time. To participate, for instance, to ask a question or to provide your feedback, you may do so in the questions or chat window on the right-hand side. When you type a question or want to make a comment, it's only seen by us, the organizers, so don't worry, not everyone who's listening will be able to see it. We'll be checking in the presentation a couple of times to see if there are any questions, and then we'll do that again at the end. And we'll answer all questions at the end of the webinar. And if we don't get to your question, don't worry, we'll follow up with you directly by email after the webinar. I'll also post some comments in the chat area once Maureen gets started so you know where to post questions. So before we get started, let's see who's out there in our audience today. So you'll see a poll pop up on your screen. If you can just click off if you are a spouse, parent, child, friend, or other. And I'll just give you a couple of seconds to get those in. And looks like we've got a pretty diverse audience out there. Some spouses, parents, children, and some others as well. So I hope you all get something interesting out of this webinar today. So now we're just going to get started. So Maureen, our presenter today, is a registered nurse and the coordinator of the Jerry and Nancy Pencer Brain Tumor Center at Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto, Ontario. She's been a facilitator of support groups for patients living with brain tumors and their families for over 20 years. We're very lucky to have Maureen share her expertise on this topic with us. So today's webinar will explore several practical ways that caregivers of people living with a brain tumor can use to nurture themselves. Maureen will lead you through several exercises that may offer helpful ways of managing the stress and fatigue that often goes along with being a primary caregiver. Maureen will be joining us today from Toronto, Ontario. So Maureen, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Tanya. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for making time to join us today. My talk today is going to talk, sort of try and build on a webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, but having said that, this won't, you don't have to have participated in the webinar from 2 weeks ago in order to get some information out of this one, I hope. So I have, just got to make my slides, there we go. So I have outlined a couple of objectives just to start our presentation today. And what, as you're reading through this, what I really want everybody to think about is that this webinar today is about you as a caregiver. So hopefully for the next 60 minutes or so, you can focus on yourself and put the concerns that go along with being a caregiver and all the other demands that are on you, put those aside for the next hour or so, and let's just try and concentrate on you. So today I hope that as the presentation progresses, you'll begin to understand, or probably for most of you already begin to understand, that being a caregiver is a difficult role, and that being the caregiver to a loved one with a brain tumor in particular carries some very unique challenges. I want you to think about what causes you the most stress and anxiety in your day-to-day life, and hopefully we'll provide you with some ways to consider that you can realistically incorporate care for yourself into your daily activities and responsibilities. And finally, we will also have an opportunity towards the end of the presentation for you to share some of your experience and expertise with what works for you in ways that help you to reduce your stress and anxiety. As I go through the presentation, I'm going to talk about a number of ways that you can try and look after yourself. I don't expect that you will do everything. all at once or maybe at all, but what I would like you to do is to try and even pick out one small thing within the context of this talk that you can start to do today for yourself, because even that will be a victory. So we'll move forward and just do a little recap from the presentation last week. Let's talk a bit about caregiver burden, which is really an all-encompassing term used to describe the physical, emotional, and financial toll of providing care to somebody else. It's important, I think, to acknowledge and recognize that being a caregiver brings with it a burden. There's just no way to get around it. You are responsible for somebody else, and that can be a burden. When caregiver burden becomes overwhelming, it can lead to caregiver burnout, that sense of being tugged in a million directions and never being in the right place at the right time. Caregiver burnout is really defined as a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion that may be accompanied by a change in attitude from being a positive and caring caregiver to one of being negative and unconcerned. So those are the things that quite often flow from being a caregiver to anyone in general. In particular, being the caregiver to somebody with a brain tumor brings a number of unique challenges. The neurological and cognitive changes that go along with a brain tumor are sometimes seen in other types of diagnosis, but they are more intense and come together as a group to make it very challenging to look after somebody with a brain tumor. When you look at quality of life measures, so that's how do people sort of look at their overall life and how satisfied they are with it. When you look at cancer populations compared with caregivers of brain tumor patients, caregivers of brain tumor patients routinely report a lower quality of life measure than those people who are caring for other people with other types of diagnoses. So that's significant. Again, it is a unique situation to be a caregiver of a brain tumor patient, and I'm going to say that over and over today because I think we really need to acknowledge and remember what a difficult situation that can be. So how, as a caregiver, can you endeavor to look after yourself and find some balance in your own life? First of all, I think it's important to understand that you need to take control where you can. You can't stop the impact that the illness is having on your loved one. That issue is out of your hands completely. What you can do, though, is take steps to assure your own well-being and preserve it so you have the ongoing ability to be a loving and effective caregiver. Again, even doing some of these small things that we're going to talk about one by one today will hopefully have an impact on your feeling more cared for and more and stronger to carry the role that you do. The first thing I want to address, and really Tanya and I were talking before the webinar started, first is that we could do a whole webinar on these kinds of practical issues, and I'm talking about power of attorney and wills. I'm just going to talk about this briefly, but I think it's important to look after this housekeeping detail in your life, because when you do that, you can certainly have the peace of mind of knowing that things are looked after. So really it's difficult in the context of somebody who has a serious illness to address the topic of power of attorney and wills. A power of attorney is a legal document that gives someone else the right to act on your behalf, and usually there are two separate powers of attorney. One is for health care and one is for finances. So when you draw up a power of attorney, you do that for those two separate aspects. Usually you get a power of attorney for finances and somebody else. It's often somebody else for your personal care. When you do this, then you have the peace of mind of knowing that should the person that you're caring for become incapacitated to the point where they can't make decisions for themselves, you have the ability to and the knowledge to know that those things can be dealt with without a lot of hassle. There is a power of attorney kit that you can go online and get from in Ontario. I suspect all the provinces have a similar website. You can go online and get the kit and fill that out. But I guess one of the things I often hear from caregivers is that this is a difficult topic, and how do you even begin to start the conversation about that with your loved ones? And I guess one way that I have heard from other patients and caregivers that works is to have this conversation in the context of everyone. So it really is prudent to have a power of attorney, not just for somebody who has a serious illness, but also it's just prudent for all of us to have that in place, so that should any untoward circumstances happen, those details are looked after and things can fall into place without a lot of other stress and anxiety. So similarly with a will, it's always a good idea to have a proper will in place. We've done caregiver workshops at the Penser Center on a number of occasions, and we've always had a lawyer come in and talk about the importance of having a will as well, so that in the event that somebody passes away, those things are all looked after without a lot of additional stress. So that's really all I'm going to say about that, and I wanted to sort of tackle that first off because, again, it's a topic that you could have a whole full discussion about, but wanted to sort of put that in people's thought process to consider, and certainly if you haven't done this already, I would suggest that you explore how to do it and think about getting it done. So moving right along, this is going to be hopefully provide some practical ways to care for yourself, as well as some ways that you haven't perhaps contemplated before. Eat well. Seems like a simple suggestion, but when you are the primary caregiver and meal preparation and all of those things fall on you, often you look after everybody else's needs before you look after your own. And so eating well is sometimes a challenge. There's no magic diets out there, and I know when I speak to our dietitian here at Princess Margaret, her recommendation is always, when people ask what should I be eating, to refer people to Canada's Food Guide. And this is sort of, I took this off the public health website. This is Canada's Food Guide. It's really a sensible diet. It's easy to follow. It has age appropriate recommendations because young people need to eat differently than elderly people. And often when people are under stress, caregiver stress, for example, one of two things happen. People don't eat enough or they eat too much. And so this is a way to have realistic guidelines about what you should be eating. Lots of whole grains and fruits, veggies. You certainly need some protein in your diet, and milk products. So I direct you to that particular diet because, again, it is easy to follow and well recommended. One of the other things that I really find helpful, I put this on a white slide because it was hard to see on the blue background, from our dietitian, is her Healthy Plate model. And Connie Zimbicki is our dietitian at Princess Margaret, and she, again, recommends this way, this tool for helping to decide whether you're eating enough or not, or eating too much. So if you think of your dinner plate, half of what you have on your plate should be vegetables. So you divide the plate into quarters, and half should be vegetables. A quarter should be protein, so meat or tofu, fish, those kinds of things. And the other quarter should be starch, so potato, rice, whole grain bread, those kinds of things. But I think this is, and then a bit of fruit at the end of the meal, and something healthful to drink like milk is a very easy way to sort of figure out whether you're getting the nutrition that you need. So I've put that just included in, and sometimes that's easier than trying to count calories and figure out whether what you're doing is online with what the dietary experts suggest. The next thing in terms of caring for yourself that I want you to consider is to make time for exercise. It's good for your physical well-being, and it's good for your psychological well-being. And when I say make time for exercise, it doesn't have to be running a marathon or embarking in the Ironman competition at all. Things like walking or gardening are just as helpful as running or swimming. If you take the stairs instead of the elevator, or you park a little farther away from the grocery store when you get there, those things all add up to exercise and activity. And it doesn't have to be a long time or every day for exercise. Even if you can incorporate 10 minutes of activity into your day-to-day routine, that goes a long way to helping your body feel worked out and fit and in shape, strong enough to carry the responsibilities that you do. While I was preparing for this talk, I was searching the web for some good resources for exercise and activity, and I came across the Public Health Agency of Canada website. So I've put it up here. They have really a wealth of information in terms of what types of exercise, what types of exercise are beneficial, sort of how much you should be doing. They provide age appropriate tips to get active. So this is just a couple of examples from their website. You can see there's tips to get active for adults 18 to 64 years and a separate page for adults over 65. So I would encourage you to visit that website sometime if you are looking for ways that you might get active and feel like you're getting some good body exercise. The other thing that's important is you need rest. I know that's easy to say, not always the easiest thing to do, but the average person needs about 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. Some people miraculously manage to function on less than that. Others seem to need a lot more than that, but the average person needs about 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. It's good to sort of set up a bedtime routine, so try going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, even on the weekends. So that helps to keep your body's circadian rhythm in sync. And some people find they want that sleep in on the weekend, but really if you are sleeping in on the weekend, it's often because you haven't had enough sleep through the week. So and so going to bed and getting up at the same time may help to improve your rest. develop a sleep ritual. So by doing the same few things before you go to bed each night. I mean, we all the parents out there know how good it is to have a bedtime routine with getting little ones to bed, and it's no different with adults. So if you have a few things that you like to do that help you to sort of ease into sleep, that's a good routine to have every night. And finally, obviously it seems simple to understand that if you need to sleep on a good mattress and in a cool, quiet, dark room that's free of electronic distractions, which is something that we all are tethered to these days. But watching TV, using phones or computers before bedtime can also sort of just wake you up rather than help you ease into sleep. So it's a good idea to try and develop a nice bedtime ritual so that you can ease into sleep and get some restful sleep through the night. Caring for your spirit and your mind is also something that is very important when you're a caregiver. And I like this quote that I have on the slide: you can't have a positive life with a negative mind. So how do you go about dealing with and hopefully getting rid of some of the negativity that can often come along with physical exhaustion and feeling burdened? Sometimes just the act of simply expressing yourself and talking about how you're feeling lightens that burden. So try and find an outlet for expressing your feelings and emotions. Talking to a trusted friend can be helpful, or attending a support group. We offer, this is some shameless self-promotion at this point, but we offer 2 support groups at the Panzer Center. One is for patients, and the second separate support group is for caregivers, so that the patients meet separately from the caregivers. And from time to time, we suggest perhaps that we bring the groups together so that it creates a little different dynamic and maybe some different conversations. And the patients are always quite happy at that suggestion, and the caregivers often just not refuse but prefer to have their own support group, because it's a safe and understanding place where people can go to talk about how they are feeling without having to feel that they are burdening their patients, and they're in a group full of people who really truly understand their situation. So I urge you to consider a support group as well. As we sort of progress through the presentation today, I'm going to suggest some other activities that you might consider that allow you to express how you're feeling in a more private way. And of course, you can always seek professional support from social workers. Most hospitals where your loved one is being cared for will have social work support, or psychiatry, or often family physicians will do one-on-one counseling. And of course, many people get a lot of strength and resilience from connecting with their faith and spiritual leader, whoever that may be. So it's the whole heart, mind, body balance that we want you to think about striving to put into sync. Really, you need to be gentle with yourself and not expect too much or put too many demands on your own well-being. I'm going to actually talk next about some ways that you might think about nurturing yourself that sort of go beyond eating well and exercising and getting proper rest. But before we do that, I thought we'd just take an opportunity to see if anybody has any questions that they want to pose. The technology with the webinar is really neat, but sometimes it's hard to sort of work out the technology to understand the first time if you have any questions. So here's an opportunity to ask questions if you like. I'll just take a minute and see if we have any questions typed in, and if not, then we'll move on to the next session, or the next portion of the session.
Yep, so Maureen, it doesn't look like we have any questions at this time, but remember, if you have any questions at any time, or any comments or any feedback that you'd like to give us, and Maureen is going to be asking you to provide your personal suggestions. If you want to share those with the group, you can do that using the question or chat panel that'll pop up from time to time on the side there. So feel free to send those at any time, and we'll be checking in with you again at the end to share any questions.
Okay, so we'll move right along then. So I thought I would talk about, again, when I have done presentations for caregivers in the past live, we've gone through a number of different activities that people may consider that they hadn't perhaps thought about previously. And journaling is one of these options. So briefly, as we go, before I start to talk about journaling, we'll just tell you that the two things that I'm going to talk about today are really ways that you might consider that are not expensive, and you don't have to devote too much time to at any given time. So journaling is one of those things. And what is journaling? Well, really, it's just the act of expressing yourself and the thoughts you can expressing yourself and your thoughts. And when you do that, that can often have a very therapeutic effect. So journaling is a self-reflective technique that can be an effective coping strategy, and can provide a very therapeutic means of self-expression. Why journal? Well, it provides a vehicle to record and grow from our experiences, and it can be a very creative process. Sometimes when you start to write, it's like a snowball rolling downhill. The more you write, the more you want to write, and when you take the time to write things on paper, it often allows an awareness of how you're feeling to really solidify. It can be a spiritual and self-healing exercise, and it provides a tool for exploring thoughts and feelings and emotions. One of the really great things about it is that it's inexpensive, and it can be done anywhere and anytime, and really it can be kept private or it can be shared. So how do we go about journaling? One thing you might consider is just to buy yourself a lovely journal, a book with blank writing pages in it, and a pen that feels good and comfortable in your hand, and keep those tools specifically for your journaling purposes. So when you think about journaling, write at a time and a place where you're free of interruptions, and you can really do it on paper, or again, technology now provides us with other tools that we can do this electronically as well. So laptop computers and iPads are also really great options for keeping a journal. You don't have to worry about quality or the quantity of what you write, because, again, it's up to you whether you want to share this with anybody or keep it private. Write when you feel like it, and journal about things that are intimate and perhaps not something that you might even choose to share with anybody else. If you find that starting out journaling is a bit of a daunting task, then just again be gentle with yourself and do a timed writing. So say, okay, for the first time I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to see what I can write in 5 minutes. That's a good way to start. And then just write. As you start to put things down on paper, you may feel a variety of emotions that well up when you are writing these things, and that can, as I say, have a very therapeutic effect. Try more than words when journaling, and I'm going to, what I mean by that is sometimes people don't express themselves through their words, but also through their art. So we at the Pencer Center give our new patients a binder, and in that binder there are some blank sheets to allow people a place in that document to journal. And I remember one time handing it to a caregiver, and she said to me, well, I don't write, but I get a lot of therapy out of doodling. So you know, if doodling is what you do, then that's a great way to start your journaling career. So, what do you journal about? Well, again, you can choose what you write about. Some people putting their thoughts and feelings on paper is therapeutic, but some people find they get benefit from collecting quotations, for example, that are meaningful to them. You could start by using a leading sentence. So one of the examples I've given here is start out by writing something about I feel especially exhausted when, and go from there. Or the thing that happened to me today that was really the most uplifting was, and you could start writing from there. Some people find that keeping an ongoing record of daily events is really therapeutic for them. And I'll just share a personal story. My dad, when my parents moved to a condominium that overlooked a lake, and my dad was used to sit in the mornings and just write about the weather. And so he'd write a weather report every day in his journal. Sunny today, you know, warm, lots of clouds in the sky. And after he passed away, none of us just sort of realized he was doing it at the time. And after he passed away, we found this journal tucked beside the couch, and there was his handwriting. And it wasn't any deep or, you know, especially poignant thoughts, but it's become a real treasure to be able to see just his weather report every day. So a record of daily events can be a very wonderful thing to do. Keep a gratitude list, and I'm sure some days it's easier than others to be grateful, but to sit quietly and take stock of things that perhaps are good in your world is a way of journaling as well. You could write what your vision of the future is. That's something that requires some thought and may evoke some emotion, but also something that you might think about journaling. Track your attitudes. Again, it could be just like a weather report. Today I'm feeling great. The next day I'm feeling not having a good day. And so those are just some suggestions about things that you might contemplate while you're journaling. Typically when I've done this presentation live, again, we've given people an opportunity to try some journaling, but I think we will keep moving forward with some other ideas, and perhaps you will give this some additional thought and go forward from here to give it a try. I hope you do. The next suggestion I wanted to make was one of relaxation and guided imagery. So this is also another very inexpensive option when it comes to thinking about ways that you can nurture yourself and rejuvenate yourself in a short period of time. So what is relaxation therapy? Well, relaxation therapy is a variety of learned techniques that assist you to actively relax. So it's one thing to say relax. It's another thing to actually try and do it. So relaxation therapy offers a variety of techniques that you learn and work through to actively relax, and that helps to manage stress and reduce anxiety. Some of those techniques are things like deep breathing and progressive muscular relaxation are a couple of ways of doing it. We offer a relaxation therapy program at the Brain Tumor Center once a week for patients and caregivers, and it's not uncommon that we actually also have staff participate in this activity, and our occupational therapist walks people through these series of exercises that that they do in order to help them relax. You can really do relaxation therapy anywhere, and again, it is inexpensive, so something that has two very positive aspects to it. And then what is guided imagery? Well, guided imagery is the act of using your imagination to help you relax in combination with relaxation techniques such as deep breathing. So I thought that we would try a brief guided imagery exercise now. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to ask you to see if you can find a comfortable position where you are sitting at the computer. And we'll just go briefly through this exercise and see if we can help people feel a little bit more relaxed coming out of the webinar. So I want you to find a comfortable position, and I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself in a very calm and peaceful place, much like this photo that I've posted up on this slide. So that may not be your ideal calm place, but that's something for me that I find very peaceful and calm. So you could imagine that you were lying on a warm beach, or swinging in a hammock, sitting in your favorite chair, or walking through a meadow, or like me, sitting beside a quiet, calm lake on a peaceful, sunny day. So try and visualize all the aspects of what you see in the environment around you, where you are. The greenness of the grass, the clear sky, maybe there's a few puffy clouds drifting by. And think of the sounds that are around you. So while I'm sitting beside my lake, I can hear the wind in the pine trees behind me and across the lake. And I can hear one bird singing away up in the tree that's behind me. And while you're sitting listening to the sounds of your peaceful place, I also want you to sort of start to begin to think about the sense of the things around you. I can certainly smell those pine trees beside my lake, and I can smell the wet sand on the beach at the foot of my chair. And I can smell the clean, fresh air as I'm sitting, relaxing beside the beach. And hopefully, wherever you are imagining, you can imagine similar things. And I'm also tuned into the taste of where I am. So again, I know that the air is very sweet, and across the bay I can see a little smoke drifting up, and I can smell a wood fire burning, and a little bit of that charcoal taste in your mouth. So again, wherever you are, imagine the taste of that place. Sometimes images or memories bring back good feelings. Sometimes they may bring back sad feelings. So whenever you are doing your guided imagery, to help relax and to feel in a good spot, good to think about something that really makes you happy and makes you feel calm and rejuvenated. So those are some ways of working with guided imagery, and as we sort of come back to opening your eyes, and you'll see my lake scene again. Hopefully, again, you were at imagining yourself in a peaceful place that was equally lovely. These ideas, again, are inexpensive, and you can do them without needing a lot of equipment. So I urge you to try and work with these ideas moving forward to see if they can be helpful to you. These are we've just done a very short exercise, so I'm not sure whether in the webinar it translated into getting a sense of what it is, but there are many places in the community where you live that provide lessons or seminars on how to do these things. So, for example, the cancer support centers in Toronto, places like Wellspring and Gilda's Club all offer these kinds of things, and I'm sure wherever you are listening from today, there are places that can also help you to learn to hone these techniques. You can also certainly buy these kinds of programs on DVDs, and that would allow you to work through them as well. So I thought we'd move on to some practical tips, and perhaps have an opportunity to share some ways with each other that you use to help to de-stress or help to make your life easier. So I'm going to start by just sharing some practical tips that other caregivers have shared with me over the years. And this is an opportunity here if you have something that really works great for you and you want to share with other people. I know everybody would be pleased to get any more tips. So the first tip that I'll put out there is to caregivers often tell me that they are overwhelmed with support sometimes, and that's a bit of a burden in itself, because you don't know when people offer to help. It's almost a job in and of itself to come up with a job to help, for people to help you with. So one caregiver shared with me how she used to have a laundry list on her fridge, and she would have jobs like do the laundry, pick up groceries, bathroom needs to be cleaned, those kinds of things that are very practical but take up time in your day, add to the burden of things that you have to do. And when people came over and asked, was there something they could do, she'd point to something on the list that didn't already have a check mark on it. And she said it was actually a very handy way of getting help, and certainly people who were offering were always very pleased to be able to give to do something that was concrete and could have some kind of realistic impact on helping. So I thought that was a very good suggestion. And the other thing is it can be helpful to help collect your own thoughts about the things that need to do. And there's something somewhat therapeutic about being able to just put a check mark beside a job that you've done yourself, no matter how big or how small, just to make you feel like you are accomplishing something. So that was tip number 1. Some other helpful ideas, and sometimes I've had caregivers share with me some really almost funny tips, but one young woman who was really sort of looking after an aging parent with a brain tumor, and she had young children at home, and the after dinner dishes for her were becoming a huge burden to do. She just couldn't, at the end of a long day, face dealing with the dishes. So she decided for a period of time that rather than contend with the dishes, she would use paper plates. And so she went off to Walmart and bought a huge container of paper plates, and she said it was mid-January when she was doing this, and the cashier at Walmart looked at her and said, "Are you having a barbecue?" And with 14 feet of snow outside, she thought that was pretty funny, but she said, "I just didn't have the energy to tell her what it was all about, so I just said, 'Yep, I'm having a barbecue.'" But she took those paper plates home and took the burden off herself, not forever, but just took a break from doing the after-dinner dishes for a while. And so even things that are helpful in short instances can be good at providing some nurturing and rest for yourself. Good to take quiet time when you can and where you can. So another caregiver shared with me that often at the end of a long day, when he was feeling pretty exhausted, once everybody in the house was quietly settled for the night, he would go out to his local coffee shop and just sit quietly all by himself for an hour and just wind down and rejuvenate. And even though it meant going out later in the evening, he just found that was his quiet time in the day in a quiet place where he had some time to rejuvenate. So also another great suggestion in terms of finding some ways to rejuvenate yourself. This is something that, again, I've recommended to many caregivers, and that's to make use of technology. Particularly when patients are acutely ill, caregivers often feel a lot of anxiety to keep family and friends up to date. So I thought I'd share with you these 2 websites that I'm familiar with. There may be other ones out there as well, but carepages.com and CaringBridge are 2 websites where you can go to and easily create a page for the person that you are looking after. And what you can do is these pages allow you to post regular updates about what's happening. So instead of having to make 50 phone calls, you just simply post an update on the website regularly, and then you can make the website available to family members and friends, and every time there is an update posted, your list of people who are on the website will get a notification that there's been an update. And then family and friends are able to post messages to you as well. And so when they get an update, they can post a message. Sometimes if they just wanted to post a message, they could. And certainly there are ways to keep the web page private also. So if there are people that you would prefer not be on the web page, you can make arrangements for that to happen. You can also post photographs and that kind of thing as well. So I really encourage you to explore those couple of websites because they can take a huge burden off feeling that need to keep everybody up to date about what's happening. To sort of work towards wrapping up, I just thought I would include this slide which talks about 10 ways to reduce stress. It's a bit of a laundry list, but I think it also provides some helpful tips about how you might cut down on your own stress. And so learning about the illness that you're dealing with can often, knowledge is power, and so learning about that, what you're dealing with, can be helpful. Be realistic about the illness that you're dealing with and about how much you can do. You need to be open to accepting your own feelings. This, as a caregiver to somebody with a brain tumor, there will be days when you feel frustrated and tired, angry. Those are all completely normal and understandable feelings, and you need to accept those because again, it's just a part of the experience that you're living at this point. Share information and your feelings with others when you can, and try to focus on things that you can do, not the things that you can't do. Humor is really good medicine, and so finding something to laugh at on a regular basis is good. A funny movie, a cartoon, or the absurdity of life can be a very therapeutic thing. And again, to recap what we talked about earlier in the presentation, which is to take care of yourself, and that means to eat as well as you can, to exercise your body, and to get sleep. And to be able to ask for help is a huge obstacle for many people, but accepting help can also ease your own burden. So be kind to yourself again, and be prepared to accept help when help is offered, or ask for it when you need it. I came across this Care for the Caregiver poem. I guess it's more of a little mantra, but I think it's a really sort of sums everything up nicely. It says, be gentle with yourself. Remind yourself that you are an enabler, not a magician. We cannot change everyone else. We can only change how we relate to them. Find a hermit spot. Schedule withdrawal periods during the week. Limit interruptions and use it to regenerate. Give support, encouragement, and praise to peers and to coordinator leaders. Learn to accept it in return. In the light of all the pain we see, we are bound to feel helpless at times. Admit it without shame. Caring and being there are sometimes more important than doing. Learn to recognize the difference between complaining that relieves and complaining that reinforces negative stress. On the way home, focus on a good thing that occurred during the day. Be a resource to yourself. Get creative and try new approaches. Use a buddy system as a source of support, assurance, and redirection. Avoid shop talk when socializing with colleagues. Say, I choose rather than I should. I ought to or have to. If you never say no, what is your yes worth? Aloofness and indifference are far more harmful than admitting the inability to do more. Laugh and play. So I think I'm just about ready to wrap up here. I meant on my last webinar to just provide my email address. If people have questions that come to mind after the presentation's over and you want to email me directly, please do so. I'll be happy to respond to any questions that you might have. I just want to say thank you again to everybody for joining us on the webinar today. And thank you to our friends at the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada for making this opportunity available and for asking me to participate. I am so admire the work that the Brain Tumor Foundation does, and I know they are a great support to the people who are listening today. So thank you very much, and if there are any further questions, we can take them. I think we have a couple of minutes left in the webinar, but I will also, oh, you know what? I didn't put the last slide into this presentation. After all, Tanya, I must have had a technical glitch, but okay. I will tell you that we had, maybe I'll just let you finish up by giving the information about the next upcoming webinars.
Okay, well, once again, thank you very much to everyone who attended today, and I hope that you found these tips and suggestions useful and something that you can apply in your everyday from now on, and maybe some new things, maybe some things that you've already heard before. So once again, thank you, Maureen, for sharing these ideas and these tips with all of us today. So just a recap of what we've got coming up. We have 2 more webinars. With they have a pediatric focus, so on March 9th and then on March 23rd, same time, same place. So I guess on your computer, you can register for those by visiting braintumor.ca. And we also have our registrations open for our in-person information days, so I just wanted to plug those as well. So if you're going to be, if you live close to Moncton, Edmonton, Ottawa, Halifax, or Vancouver and are interested in one of those days, those are coming up in the spring, and then in the fall we've got London, Calgary, and Saskatoon coming up. So you can find all of that information at infodays.ca and be able to register for those as well. So once again, thank you so much, Maureen, for joining us today, and thank you everybody for being on the line. So again, any questions that you might have that come up later, you can send them directly to Maureen, you can send them to us as well, and we'll be sure to follow up with you.
Great. Thanks, Tanya.
Thanks, Maureen. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Bye now.